My daughter wouldn't look at me. That's the detail that almost destroyed me, not the empty bank account, not her husband's smugness, but the way Jennifer stared at the floor while he spoke. Because in that moment, I realized she'd already made a choice, and it wasn't me. Your child choosing someone else over you isn't just painful, it's disorienting in a way that feels like physics breaking down, gravity reversing. But here's what I learned in the aftermath. Sometimes the people we raised become strangers, not because we failed, but because we succeeded in ways we didn't plan for. We taught them that their needs matter. We just forgot to teach them that ours do too. The correction I made that day changed 3 generations. Let me show you how. If you're here right now, you're carrying something heavy. Maybe someone you love has betrayed you in a way that's reorganized your entire understanding of reality. And maybe they took something that wasn't theirs. Money, time, trust, your sense of safety in the world. Maybe you're oscillating between rage and guilt so fast, it's making you physically sick. Rage. Because how dare they do this to you? Guilt because you're not supposed to feel rage toward family, toward people you love, toward the ones who are supposed to be your safe place. You keep replaying it, looking for the moment you could have stopped it, the warning sign you missed, the conversation that would have prevented everything. You're searching through memories like a detective at a crime scene, trying to figure out where you went wrong, what you should have seen, how you could have been so blind. And everyone around you is probably giving you one of 2 pieces of advice. Either forgive, because family is family and life is short, and holding grudges poisons your own heart. Or cut them off completely, go no contact, protect yourself. They showed you who they are, so believe them. Those are the 2 options everyone presents, like they're the only reasonable choices. Forgive or exile, reconcile or abandon. But what if both options are fundamentally wrong? What if there's a third path nobody talks about because it requires more nuance, more emotional intelligence, more willingness to sit in the discomfort of complex truth than most people can handle? What if the answer isn't about what you do to them, but about what you finally do for yourself? That's what I'm here to give you, not simple answers, not platitudes that sound good on greeting cards, but fall apart the moment you try to live them. I'm here to tell you that this thing that happened to you, this betrayal, this theft, this moment when someone you loved revealed themselves to be someone you didn't actually know, this isn't just a relationship problem, it's a contract problem. You've been operating under terms you never consciously agreed to, and the people who hurt you have been exploiting fine print you didn't know existed. And here's the piece that's going to sound harsh, but is actually the most liberating thing I can tell you. The opposite of betrayal isn't trust, it's not forgiveness, it's clarity. Seeing people accurately, maybe for the first time in your life. Stopping the exhausting argument with reality that's been draining you for years. Most advice about family betrayal tries to get you to either rebuild trust or walk away forever. I'm offering something different. Permission to renegotiate reality. To design a relationship based on who people actually are, not who you need them to be. To love people and protect yourself at the same time. Those things aren't opposites. We've just been taught they are by people who benefit from our confusion. So if you're ready to stop performing a version of family that's killing you, if you're ready to understand what actually happened and why, and if you're ready to take your power back without becoming cruel or closed or broken, stay with me. What I'm about to share changed everything for me, and I think it might change everything for you too. If you are with me, kindly tell me what you would have done if you are in my shoe. And also subscribe and tell me where you are watching us from. Let me know that you are here. Let me take you back to that Sunday afternoon, the day the floor dropped out. It was my granddaughter's baptism. Chloe, 8 months old, with enormous brown eyes and my daughter's dimples. I'd flown in from Arizona to Michigan for the weekend, brought gifts wrapped in paper covered in little angels, made my famous lemon bars, the ones with the shortbread crust that Jennifer had been requesting since she was 12. I was doing grandmother things, normal things, the kind that signal continuity, that you're woven into the fabric of this family, that your place is secure. The house smelled like coffee and baby powder and something baking I didn't make. There were people everywhere, Jennifer's friends from book club, Marcus's co-workers from the architecture firm, aunts and uncles I'd met at the wedding but couldn't quite place. That particular chaos of a family event where you're both central and peripheral. Important because it's your granddaughter, but also invisible because you're just the grandmother, the older generation, the one who sits and smiles and holds the baby when she gets fussy. Marcus had been especially helpful that weekend. I remember noticing it specifically. He'd always been distant with me, polite but cool, like I was someone he had to tolerate to access Jennifer. But that weekend he carried my suitcase upstairs without being asked about my flight, made sure I had coffee exactly how I like it, black, 2 ice cubes so I can drink it immediately, the kind of attentiveness that felt like finally he was warming to me. Finally seeing me as family instead of an obligation, I registered it as growth, maturity, him stepping into his role as a father and son-in-law. I felt grateful. That's the part that twists the knife later. I felt genuinely grateful for the setup. Sunday afternoon, people had started leaving. The house had that post-event exhaustion feel, crumpled napkins, leftover cake hardening on plates. Chloe was down for a nap. I was in the guest room trying to book my return flight when my banking app showed an error. Just a little red message. Unable to retrieve account information, please try again. I tried again, another error. I closed the app completely, reopened it. Same thing, then I switched to cellular data and tried again. This time it loaded, and the number made absolutely no sense. Not $73,000, $412, $127.43. I stared at it. You know that thing where your brain knows something catastrophic has occurred but your nervous system hasn't caught up yet? There's this weird calm, this detached curiosity, like watching a car accident in slow motion. I refreshed, closed the app, reopened it, checked my savings account. Zero. My investment account, the one I'd been contributing to for 18 years, the one that was supposed to eventually be a down payment on a little condo somewhere warm. Zero. Everything I'd spent 2 decades building, gone. My hands started shaking, that deep tremor that starts in your core and radiates out. I stood up, but my legs felt strange, distant. I walked down the hallway holding my phone like evidence at a crime scene. Jennifer and Marcus were in the kitchen. She was loading the dishwasher. He was putting leftovers in containers. Domestic, normal, the exact scene you'd paint if you were illustrating a happy young family. I couldn't make my voice work right. It came out thin and high. Something's happened to my accounts. I think I've been hacked. All my money is gone. I held out my phone. Marcus didn't look surprised. That's the first thing I noticed. No shock, no concern. Just this little pause while he wiped his hands on a dish towel, slowly. Then he said, completely calm, "Oh, yeah, we were going to talk to you about that." The floor tilted. "What?" I said. "Just that, what?" Jennifer finally looked up from the dishwasher, and I will see that look for the rest of my life. Not guilt, not discomfort, resignation. Like she'd been dreading this conversation, but also knew it was inevitable. Like I was the problem for noticing. "Mum," she said in that careful tone you use with someone unstable, "we needed it for the down payment on the new house. You weren't using it. It was just sitting there." I couldn't process the words. The sounds made sense, but the meaning kept sliding away. You needed what? What are you talking about? Marcus stepped in, literally stepped between us, taking over. Your savings, we transferred them. We're closing on the house in Maple Grove next month. You know, the one we showed you pictures of at Christmas. 4 bedrooms, that big yard for Chloe. We were short on the down payment and we knew you'd want to help, but we also knew you'd make it into this whole complicated thing about us not accepting help, so we just handled it. We were going to tell you after everything was finalized. I looked at my daughter who I'd pushed through college, working 2 jobs, my daughter who I'd taken in when her first marriage fell apart, let her live with me for 16 months rent-free, my daughter who I'd given everything to because that's what mothers do. That's what love looks like. You took my money, I said slowly, without asking, without telling me. We borrowed it, Mum. We'll pay you back eventually. It's basically an investment in family. How did you even... I couldn't finish. How did you access my accounts? How did you justify this? How did I raise someone capable of this? Marcus answered like I'd asked a logistics question. Remember last Christmas when your laptop was acting up? I helped you set up online banking on your tablet. You wrote all your passwords in that little blue notebook you keep in your purse. I just took a picture of the pages for emergencies. For emergencies. He'd been planning this for a year. That's theft, I said. My voice sounded strange, distant. That's actual theft. That's a felony. And this is the moment that changed everything. This is the moment I need you to really understand, because this happens in 1,000 different ways, in 1,000 different families, and it determines whether you stay trapped or break free. Marcus looked me dead in the eye, no embarrassment, no shame, nothing, and said with complete conviction, "We had greater need of it than you did." Not "we're sorry," not "we made a mistake," just a simple statement of fact. We needed it more, therefore we were entitled to it. Your needs, your savings, your 18 years of sacrifice, all less important than our want for a bigger house. And then he smiled, this small, smug smile. The smile of someone who believes completely that they're right. I grabbed my purse. My whole body was shaking. In that case, I said, you won't object to what happens next. Jennifer's face changed. First time I saw actual fear. Mum, don't do anything crazy. Think about Chloe. Think about the family. Think about the family. The family that just robbed me. Marcus laughed, actually laughed. What are you going to do? Call the cops on your own daughter? Over money? You were going to leave her anyway when you die? When you die, like my death was a financial event they'd already planned for. I walked out, sat in my rental car and called my attorney, left a message because it was Sunday, called my bank, reported unauthorized access, froze everything left. Then I sat there while my brain tried to reorganize reality, because the woman who'd walked into that house on Friday didn't exist anymore. That woman believed her daughter loved her, believed family meant safety. That woman died in that kitchen. Someone else was being born. You know what the worst part was? Not the money. The deepest theft was my narrative, my story about who we were to each other. I'd built my entire identity around being Jennifer's mother. Good mum, sacrificial mum. And in one conversation, that story revealed itself to be fiction. I wasn't a beloved mother, I was a resource, an ATM with a heartbeat. And when Marcus hacked the account, he was just accessing what he'd always seen me as, a means to an end. That's what nobody tells you about family betrayal. The thing they took isn't the injury that won't heal. The injury is the forced seeing, the moment you can't unsee what's actually true. I sat in that car for 2 hours just sat there while the sun went down and the streetlights came on and their house glowed warm, and I understood with perfect clarity that I was not safe there, had maybe never been safe there, had been operating in a fantasy where my love was enough to secure their love in return. But love doesn't work that way. You can't earn it through sacrifice. Some people will take everything you give and still feel entitled to more, not because they're monsters, but because you taught them. God, that's the part that almost killed me. I taught them, not intentionally, but every time I said yes when I wanted to say no, every time I absorbed their crisis, every time I prioritized their comfort over my truth. I wrote the rules. They just played by them. When I finally drove back to my hotel, I looked different in the mirror. Older, yeah, but also sharper, clearer, like someone had turned up the contrast on reality, and I could suddenly see edges I'd been blurring for decades. I didn't sleep. Just lay there, doing an inventory of my entire life. Every relationship, every pattern, every place I'd given until there was nothing left, and called it love. My parents had been takers, not cruel, just boundaryless. Their needs always larger than mine. My role clear early on: be easy, be helpful, don't require too much. I learned to make myself small, to find worth in service. And I'd thought that by giving Jennifer a different childhood, a mother who showed up and sacrificed and prioritized her, I was breaking that cycle. But I hadn't broken it at all. I'd just inverted it, made myself the endless giver instead of the neglected child. Same dynamic, different role, and Jennifer had learned what I'd learned, that love is a hierarchy, that someone's needs matter more and someone's don't. She just drew a different conclusion about which person she was. 72 hours later, I was back in Arizona. I'd cut the trip short. Jennifer seemed relieved, like my presence had become uncomfortable now that the truth was out. Marcus had already moved past it, sent me a text. "Safe travels, Mum. We'll pay you back when the house appreciates. Investment in family, right?" Investment in family. I met with my attorney that Wednesday. His name was David, younger than me, maybe 40. I had to say it out loud. Had to form the words, "My daughter and son-in-law stole my life savings." "Do you want to press charges?" David asked. I didn't know. I didn't know anything anymore except that the floor had dropped out and I was in free fall. "Let me ask you a different question," David said. "Do you want this to be possible again? Do you want them to have learned that this works, that they can do this consequence-free?" And something in me that had been soft went hard. No, I did not want them to learn that I was endlessly plunderable. That love meant unlimited access with zero accountability. We filed a police report, provided documentation, bank records, the timeline, everything, and then we waited. The call came on a Saturday. Jennifer, voice shaking. "Mum, the police were just here. They said you accused us of theft. There's a warrant for Marcus." "What did you do?" "What did I do? Not what did Marcus do. What did I, the victim, do to cause this?" "I reported a crime," I said. My voice was calm, because a crime occurred. "He's Chloe's father. You're going to put him in jail. You're going to do that to your granddaughter?" There it was, the weapon, the child, used Chloe to make me collapse. "Marcus did that to Chloe when he committed a felony," I said. "I didn't create this situation. I'm just refusing to pretend it didn't happen." "We'll pay you back. Just drop the charges, please. Think about the family." The family. The family that had just robbed me. "I am thinking about the family," I said. I'm thinking about what kind of family allows theft, what kind of family I'm willing to participate in going forward." She started crying, real sobs. And God, it hurt. Your child's pain, even when they caused it, hits some primal place that just wants to fix it. But I didn't. I let her cry, and I didn't fix it. When you're ready to have a real conversation, not about avoiding consequences, but about what actually happened, call me. Until then, talk to your lawyer. I hung up. And then I cried harder than I'd cried in years, because setting boundaries with family doesn't feel empowering at first. It feels like violence, like you're destroying everything. But that feeling is a lie. It's the voice of every system that benefited from your self-abandonment telling you that your boundaries are cruelty. If you believe that voice, you'll spend your life being eaten alive by people who call it love. Let me explain how families actually work. Every family has invisible contracts. Agreements nobody signed, but everyone enforces. These get written through repetition, through what's modeled, through whose needs get prioritized. In my family of origin, the contract was simple. Children are seen, not heard. Parents' needs come first. I learned that so well, I didn't know it was a contract. I thought it was reality. When I had Jennifer, I rewrote one variable. She got to matter. But the fundamental structure, one person's needs are central, one person's aren't, that stayed the same. I just put myself in the subordinate position. I taught her that love looks like one person giving and one person receiving, that mothers are endlessly resourced, that my job was to anticipate her needs, fix her problems, buffer her from discomfort. Then she married Marcus. And he recognized that contract immediately because it served him perfectly. He didn't have to manipulate it. It was already built. This is what I mean by contract problem. You've been operating under terms you never consciously agreed to. The people who violated you aren't necessarily evil. They're just enforcing contracts that benefit them. The question isn't, how do I make them see what they did wrong? It's, how do I stop enforcing contracts that are killing me? And that requires ruthless honesty about what's actually happening versus what you've been telling yourself. For years, I told myself Jennifer and I were close, special bond. But if I was honest, really honest, it was mostly me giving and her receiving. I called her weekly. She rarely called me. I visited multiple times a year. She visited maybe once every 18 months. When I talked about my problems, her attention wandered. When she talked about hers, I mobilized everything. That's not closeness. That's a transaction where we're both pretending it's intimacy. The theft wasn't an aberration. It was the logical endpoint of a dynamic that had been true for decades. I just hadn't wanted to see it. This is the work most people avoid because it's excruciating. You have to stop arguing with reality. You have to look at what's true, not what you hoped was true, and let it reorganize everything. My daughter values my resources more than my boundaries. That's not drama, it's just true. The evidence is overwhelming. When given a choice between a bigger house and my financial security, she chose the house. When given a choice between her husband facing consequences and me having justice, she chose her husband. That doesn't make her a monster, but it makes her unsafe for me in specific ways. And seeing that clearly, naming it without drama but also without denial, that's not bitterness, that's accuracy. And accuracy is the only foundation healing can be built on. So I stopped pretending, stopped performing the close mother-daughter relationship that existed more in my head than reality. I didn't cut her off, I just stopped calling every week, stopped sending care packages, stopped organizing my life around Chloe, not as punishment, as recognition. This relationship doesn't mean what I thought it meant. Marcus took a plea deal, pled guilty to a reduced charge, probation, community service, mandatory restitution over 5 years, no jail time, but a felony record. Jennifer was furious, sent an email saying I'd destroyed their family, ruined Marcus's career, damaged Chloe's future, that I'd chosen money over my granddaughter. I didn't respond. In her mind, I was the villain, the person who reported the crime, not the person who committed it. I couldn't argue her out of that. 6 months passed, no contact. I thought about Chloe constantly. But I didn't break, because my relationship with my granddaughter couldn't be held hostage to my daughter's emotional blackmail. Then a letter came, handwritten. Mom, I've been in therapy. My therapist asked me to see the situation from your perspective, really see it. And when I let myself imagine you finding out, imagine working 18 years to save that money and having it just gone, I had a panic attack. Because the violation of it was so much bigger than I'd let myself see. I don't know if I can make this right. But I need you to know I finally see it. What we did to you. I'm so sorry. I read that letter 20 times, looking for manipulation, the hidden ask, but I couldn't find it. It just sounded like someone who'd finally actually seen. I didn't respond right away. Sat with it for weeks. When I finally called, we didn't talk about forgiveness. We just talked, really talked, about how she'd experienced our relationship, what I'd experienced, the unspoken rules we'd both been following. It wasn't healing, not yet. But it was honest. That was 2 years ago. Our relationship today looks nothing like before. We talk maybe once a month. I've seen Chloe a handful of times, always with clear boundaries. Jennifer and Marcus are still together, still in the house. The restitution payments come like clockwork. Sometimes Jennifer tells me I'm different now, harder. And she's not wrong. The person who would sacrifice herself to keep everyone comfortable is gone. In her place is someone who loves people and protects herself at the same time. Am I happy? I'm clear. Solid. I sleep through the night. I don't feel like I'm performing a version of myself that has nothing to do with who I am. I don't feel guilty for existing or having needs. Maybe that's not happiness. Maybe it's integrity. Here's what I've learned. You can't have peace with people who require your self-abandonment. You can have the appearance of peace, but underneath you'll be dying, slowly, quietly. The people who truly love you won't need you to prove it through endless sacrifice. They won't measure your devotion by your depletion. And the ones who do? They were never loving you. They were loving what you provided. So what do you do when you're in the middle of it? First, protect yourself immediately. The moment you discover betrayal, secure what's left. New accounts, change passwords, paper trail. Not because you know what you'll do with it, but because future you might need options. Your nervous system will scream at you to smooth things over. Don't let it. Protection first, clarity later. Second, audit the invisible contracts. Get honest about what you've been providing that was never agreed upon. What did you explicitly agree to versus what you've actually been doing? The gap is where the invisible contract lives. You don't need permission to stop enforcing those terms, you just stop. Third, separate feelings from facts. You feel guilty doesn't mean you did something wrong. You feel afraid doesn't mean you're in danger. Feel everything. Believe what your feelings say about reality. That's where people stay stuck for decades. Fourth, understand that people who benefit from your dysfunction will diagnose your healing as the disease. When you set real boundaries, they won't applaud. They'll escalate. They'll say, "You've changed." Let them. Their job is protecting their access to you. Your job is protecting you. Fifth, design the relationship you can sustain honestly. You don't have to choose between full relationship or no relationship. There's a whole menu in between. Seasonal contact, structured interactions, financial separation, but emotional connection. Ask yourself, what version doesn't require me to abandon myself? Start there. Sixth, know the difference between punishment and protection. What you're doing isn't revenge. Revenge tries to make someone hurt proportionally. Protection prevents future harm regardless of whether they learn anything. You don't need their understanding or permission. And finally, grieve. Not the person, the story, the narrative you built about who they were and what you meant to each other. That's real grief work. It moves in waves. Let yourself feel all of it. 2 years out, I don't regret any of it. Not reporting the theft, not holding the boundary, I regret that it was necessary, but I don't regret choosing myself. You can't build anything real on self-abandonment. You can build the appearance of relationship, but underneath, there's nothing. I'd rather have real distance than fake closeness. I'd rather be lonely sometimes than erased all the time. That's the choice. And nobody can make it for you. Everyone will have opinions. None of them have to live your life. You do. My granddaughter is 3 now. I've seen her maybe 10 times. I don't know if that will change. But I know this. I'm not a ghost anymore. I'm not performing. I'm just me, clear, boundaried, real. The people who can love that version are my people. Everyone else gets a smaller version, the version I can offer without abandoning myself, and that's enough. Because the alternative, going back to being endlessly available, endlessly smaller, that's not life. That's just a slower way of dying. So if you're in it right now, hear this. You're not broken for requiring respect. You're not cruel for refusing theft. You're not obligated to bleed so others can thrive. The family you were born into doesn't define the family you deserve. And sometimes building that family means releasing people you love and claiming yourself back. That's not betrayal. That's you finally understanding that you matter, that your needs are as real as everyone else's. That love without boundaries isn't love. It's exploitation with better marketing. You're not broken. You've just been operating under someone else's definition of goodness, under rules designed to keep you small and compliant, under contracts you never signed. You can stop now. You can put down the weight. You can require reciprocity. You can love people and protect yourself at the same time. You are allowed to change the terms. You are allowed to require respect. You are allowed to hold people accountable, even when they're family. You are allowed to matter, not just in theory, in practice, in your daily life, in your relationships. You matter. Your needs matter. Your dignity matters. As much as anyone else's, not negotiable. That's the truth they don't want you to know. Because if you really believed it, everything would change. The power would shift. The invisible contracts would dissolve. I chose to step into that truth. It cost me things, real things, but what I gained was bigger. I gained myself, my clarity, my integrity. I wouldn't trade that for the performance of closeness or the appearance of family. I'd rather be real and lonely sometimes than fake and surrounded. If this landed for you, let me know in the comments. Tell me one invisible contract you're ready to renegotiate. Or just drop a heart. I read them all. And if you want more of these conversations, the real ones about family and love, and what happens when the people who should protect you become the people you need protection from, subscribe. Hit the bell. Because we're not supposed to talk about this. We're supposed to keep it in the family, forgive and forget. Prioritize everyone's comfort over our truth. But I'm done with supposed to. And maybe you are too. You're not broken. You've just been misled about what love looks like, what you're worth, what you're required to accept. And now you know, and knowing changes everything. Welcome to the other side. It's clearer here. Harder sometimes, but real. Finally, real. And real is the only foundation anything lasting can be built on. I'll see you in the next one.